Captain John Harris stood on the bridge of his ship called Horizon. He was looking at the main screen where a strange vessel had just appeared. This was not a human ship. It was something else, something alien. The ship was huge, much bigger than his own vessel. It had smooth curves and strange colors that seemed to move and change in the light of the stars. John had been a captain for 12 years. He had seen many things in space. He had visited distant planets and watched stars being born, but he had never seen anything like this. No human had. This was the first time humans were meeting aliens who could think and talk and build ships. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez sat at her station. Her job was to handle all communications with other ships. She had been trying to contact the alien vessel for 20 minutes now. She sent out signals on every frequency she could think of. She used radio waves and light pulses and even basic mathematical patterns. But there was no answer. The alien ship stayed silent. Amy turned in her chair to face the captain. Her face looked pale. Her hands were shaking just a little bit, though she tried to hide it. She was scared, but she was also excited. This was history happening right in front of them. "Still nothing, Captain," she said. Her voice was steady and professional. "Keep trying," John told her. He did not take his eyes off the alien ship. Every choice he made today would be remembered forever. Children would learn about this moment in their schools. Historians would write books about what happened next. He had to get this right. The bridge was quiet except for the soft sounds of the ship's systems. The crew members looked at each other with nervous eyes. Everyone knew how important this was. Everyone knew that whatever happened next would change everything for humanity. Kevin Chen worked at the navigation station. His screens showed him exactly where every object in space was located. He watched the alien ship carefully, tracking its every movement. Suddenly, the numbers on his screen began to change. "Captain, they're moving," Kevin called out. "They're changing course. They're coming toward us." John felt his heart beat faster. The alien ship was massive. If they wanted to attack, his ship would not last long. The Horizon was built for science and exploration. It had some weapons, but only small ones meant to fight off pirates or destroy dangerous debris. They were not ready for a real battle with an unknown enemy. "Raise shields," John ordered. His military training took over. He had served in Earth's defense force before becoming an explorer. Those old instincts came back now. "Amy, send out a peace signal. Use every method we have. I want them to know we're not hostile." Amy's fingers moved quickly across her controls. She sent out every peaceful greeting humanity had ever created. Ancient Earth languages, mathematical proofs, images of flowers and stars, even music. She broadcast it all, hoping the aliens would understand at least some of it. The alien ship kept coming closer. It moved smoothly through space, not making any sudden movements. It did not look like it was preparing to attack. But John had learned long ago that appearances could be wrong. He kept his hand near the weapons controls just in case. Then something strange happened. Part of the alien ship's outer wall began to change. It became clear like glass or crystal. Through this transparent section, the humans could see inside the alien vessel. They could see the aliens themselves. Daniel Brooks, the chief engineer, stood up from his seat at the back of the bridge. He moved closer to the main screen, wanting to see better. "They're showing themselves to us," he said quietly. The aliens were tall and thin. Their bodies were covered in smooth scales that changed color from blue to purple and back again. They had long arms and legs that moved with strange grace. Their heads were round with large eyes that seemed to take in everything around them. They did not look dangerous. They looked curious. "It's a gesture," Amy said, her voice filled with wonder. "They want us to see them. They want us to know they're real, that they're alive. This is how they say hello." "Or they're studying us," Daniel muttered, "learning about us before they decide what to do with us." John did not know which one was right. Maybe both were true. Maybe the aliens were just as scared and curious as the humans were. A moment later, every screen on Amy's station lit up with activity. Lights flashed. Sounds beeped. Data poured in faster than she could read it. "We're getting a transmission," she announced. Her voice got higher with excitement. "They're sending us numbers, mathematical sequences, and now pictures. Simple pictures. Captain, they're trying to talk to us. They're building a language we can both understand." "Put it on the main screen," John ordered. The screen split in half. One side still showed the alien ship. The other side now showed a series of simple drawings, a circle that clearly meant their ship, an arrow pointing to a location in space between the two vessels. symbols that seemed to mean meeting and talking and peace. "They want to meet us," Amy translated. Face to face, John stood up from his captain's chair. He pulled down his uniform jacket to make sure it looked neat and proper. This was the most important moment in human history. Everything that came after would start with what he did right now. "Send them a yes signal," he said. "Prepare a shuttle for launch. Amy, Kevin, you're coming with me. Daniel, you're in charge of the ship while we're gone." 2 hours later, John sat in a small room on a space station that the aliens had built just for this meeting. Amy and Kevin sat on either side of him. Across a simple table sat 3 aliens. Their scales shimmered in the light. Their large eyes watched the humans with obvious interest. The meeting started slowly. Both sides used computers and translation devices. They shared simple words and concepts. Numbers were easy. 1, 2, 3. Those were the same everywhere in the universe. Colors came next. Red, blue, green. Then more complex ideas. Ship, star, planet, home. After an hour, basic communication was possible. The aliens called themselves the Vereen. The one who seemed to be in charge had a name that translated roughly as Gentle Observer. It was a strange name to human ears, but John tried to be respectful. Gentle Observer looked at John for a long time. Then it spoke through the translation device. The voice that came out was mechanical and flat, but the words were clear. "You are predator species." The statement hung in the air like a heavy weight. John looked at Amy and Kevin. They looked back at him with confused expressions. John noticed that Amy's hand had moved slightly toward the gun on her belt. She caught herself and stopped, pulling her hand back. "We evolved from animals that ate both plants and meat," John said carefully. He spoke slowly so the translation device could keep up. "But we're civilized now. We don't act like wild animals anymore. We have laws and rules and morals." Gentle Observer made a movement with its long arms. John thought it might be the Vereen version of a nod. "We are herbivore," the alien said. "We eat only plants. All species in galactic community are prey species. You are first predator we meet." Kevin leaned forward. His eyes were wide with surprise. "All of you. Every intelligent species in your alliance comes from prey animals?" "Yes, predator species are rare. Most kill themselves before reaching space, or prey species destroy them in self-defense." John felt a chill run down his back. An entire civilization of species that had evolved by running and hiding. Species that survived by avoiding danger, not by fighting it. They had built a galactic community based on cooperation and peace. And now they had met humans who came from hunters. "We want peace," John said firmly. He needed them to understand this. "We didn't come to space to hunt or to conquer. We came to explore. We came to learn. We came to find other intelligent life and make friends." Gentle Observer tilted its head in a way that looked both alien and somehow familiar. "Like you? There are no others like you in Galaxy. You are unique. This makes you valuable, but also dangerous." The meeting continued for many more hours. They shared scientific knowledge. They talked about art and culture. They established basic rules for how their peoples would interact. But underneath all the polite words, John could feel the Vereen's fear. Their entire evolutionary history had taught them to be afraid of creatures like humans. Millions of years of instinct were telling them to run away. When John and his crew returned to the horizon, everyone was exhausted. Amy collapsed into a chair in the briefing room. She looked tired and worried. "Did you see how they looked at us?" she asked. "Like we might attack them at any second. Can you blame them?" Kevin replied. He was looking at data on a tablet screen. "They spent millions of years being hunted. Every instinct they have tells them we're dangerous." John walked to the window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there was the Vereen homeworld. Somewhere out there was an entire civilization that was afraid of what humanity represented. "Then we'll have to prove them wrong," he said. "We'll show them that predators can be more than just hunters. We'll show them what it really means to be human." But even as he said those words, John wondered if it would be enough. In the back of his mind, a small voice whispered that maybe the Vereen had good reasons to be afraid. Maybe humans were more dangerous than they wanted to admit. 3 months had passed since humans first met the Vereen. In that time, Earth had built a small diplomatic station in space. The station was called Unity. It orbited a moon that belonged to neither humans nor aliens. This neutral location made everyone feel safer. Dr. Lisa Morgan had spent most of those 3 months studying the Vereen. She was a scientist who specialized in understanding alien life. Her office on Unity Station was filled with notes and research papers. Every day she learned something new about these strange beings who were so different from humans. One afternoon, Lisa called John on a secure video channel. She looked excited but also worried. John could tell she had discovered something important. "They're not just prey species," Lisa explained. She pulled up charts and diagrams on her screen. "Their whole way of thinking is built around avoiding conflict. They don't even have words for things like military offense or tactical advantage. When they're threatened, their first instinct is always to run away or to freeze and hide." "What about their military?" John asked. "They must have some way to defend themselves." Lisa nodded and changed the image on her screen. "They do have defenses, but it's all passive. Shields to protect their ships, systems to help them dodge attacks, automated weapons that only fire back when they're being shot at. They've never developed offensive weapons. The whole concept of attacking another ship is so foreign to them that they had to invent new words just to talk about it with us." John sat back in his chair. "That's why they're so nervous around us. They've never met anyone who thinks like a hunter." "Exactly," Lisa said. "And John, it's not just the Varine. I've been looking at data about all the other species in their galactic community. There are dozens of different alien races. Every single one of them evolved from prey animals. Some were herd creatures. Some lived in trees and ate fruit. Some were ocean dwellers that filtered food from water, but not one of them was ever a predator." Before John could respond, loud alarms began to sound throughout the station. Red lights flashed on the walls. Amy's voice came through the speakers, urgent and serious. "Captain, to the command center immediately. We have an emergency situation." John ran through the corridors of Unity Station. When he burst into the command center, he found everyone staring at the main display screen with expressions of horror. On the screen was an image of a massive rock tumbling through space. "It's an asteroid," Kevin explained quickly. He pulled up more data on a side screen. "A big one, 15 kilometers across, and it's heading straight for Varine Prime. That's their homeworld. If it hits, it will kill everything on the planet." "How long do they have?" John demanded. Kevin checked his calculations again. 48 hours. "Maybe less. What caused this?" John asked. "Asteroids don't just fall out of their orbits. Something knocked it loose from the asteroid belt," Kevin said. "Could have been a comet impact. Could have been a collision with another asteroid. The timing seems suspicious, but we can't prove anything." John stared at the screen. The asteroid looked like a giant hammer falling toward the Varine homeworld. "What are the Varine doing about it?" Amy looked up from her console. Her face was pale. "They're evacuating. They're trying to get everyone off the planet." "But Captain, they have 3 billion people down there. At their current rate, they can only evacuate about half of them before impact." "Can't they destroy it?" John asked. "Blow it up before it reaches them?" Amy shook her head. "Their defense platforms can handle small asteroids. But this thing is huge. They don't have weapons powerful enough to break it apart, and if they try to push it off course, it will just break into smaller pieces that are still big enough to destroy cities." John's mind was racing. He looked at the asteroid on the screen. He looked at his crew. An idea was forming in his head. It was dangerous and maybe crazy, but it might be their only chance. "Kevin, plot a course to intercept that asteroid," he ordered. "Daniel, I need you to gather every mining charge we have on the station. Also get our plasma cutters ready. Amy, open a communication channel to Varine Command." Amy looked confused. "What are you planning, Captain?" "We're going to stop that asteroid," John said simply. Daniel stepped forward. He was frowning. "Sir, with all respect, we don't have enough firepower. We're not a warship. Our tools are made for mining and basic defense, not for destroying something that big." "Then we'll get creative," John replied. "Think about it. Every human ship in this sector has more offensive capability than anything the Varine have. We have mining explosives. We have cutting tools. We have missiles designed to break apart rocks. Most importantly, we know how to think about destroying things. That's what predators do." The room went quiet. Everyone understood what John was saying. The Varine couldn't solve this problem because they didn't think like hunters. They thought like prey. But humans thought differently. Amy opened the communication channel. On the screen appeared a different Varine than the one John had met before. This one had darker scales and more nervous movements. The translation device identified it as careful consensus. "We have detected the asteroid threat," John said. "We want to help you. We have the tools and knowledge to destroy it before it reaches your planet." There was a long pause. John could see other Varine moving around in the background of the transmission. They seemed to be having an intense discussion. Their body language suggested fear and uncertainty. Finally, careful consensus spoke. "You wish to attack the asteroid. We wish to destroy it before it destroys your world," John corrected gently. "Please let us help you." Another long pause followed. John could imagine the debate happening on the Varine homeworld. On one hand, they needed help desperately. On the other hand, they were considering allowing predators to bring weapons close to their planet. "We are afraid of predators near our home," careful consensus admitted. The translation made the words sound flat, but John could hear the fear behind them. "But we are more afraid of the asteroid. You have our permission. Please save our world." John felt relief wash over him. "We won't let you down." The Horizon launched from Unity Station 30 minutes later. They were joined by 2 human cargo ships that had been nearby. These ships weren't military vessels either. They were civilian ships designed to carry supplies and equipment. But they had mining tools and industrial equipment that could be adapted for this mission. As they raced toward the asteroid, John explained the plan to his crew. They would use precision explosives to break the asteroid along its natural fault lines. Then they would use plasma cutters to separate the pieces. Finally, they would use controlled explosions to push the fragments onto new paths that would miss the planet. It was a bold plan. It was aggressive and direct. It was exactly the kind of solution that no prey species would ever think of. The Varine had been trying to figure out how to gently nudge the asteroid off course. Humans were going to attack it head-on and tear it to pieces. As they got closer to the asteroid, Kevin worked on detailed scans. "I'm picking up internal fractures," he reported. "The rock isn't solid all the way through. There are weak points we can exploit." "Good," John said. "Mark those locations. We'll plant our charges there." Amy was monitoring the Varine ships in the area. Dozens of them surrounded the asteroid, but they kept their distance. They weren't doing anything except watching and scanning. "They're afraid to get too close," Amy observed. "Even now, when their world is about to be destroyed, they can't bring themselves to attack the threat directly." "That's what we're here for," John said. He looked at the asteroid growing larger on the screen. It was massive and ugly and deadly, but it was just a rock. And humans had been breaking rocks since before they invented tools. This was just a bigger rock that needed breaking. "All hands to battle stations," John ordered. "Let's show the galaxy what humans can do." The Horizon moved into position. Behind it, the cargo ships spread out to cover different approach vectors. They were ready. The tools were prepared. The plan was set. Now came the hard part. Now came the hunt. The asteroid filled the entire viewscreen. It was enormous. Bigger than a mountain, spinning slowly through the darkness of space. Its surface was covered with craters and deep cracks. These scars told the story of billions of years of cosmic collisions. Kevin's hands moved quickly across his control panel. Numbers and images flashed on his screens as the ship's computers analyzed the asteroid. "I'm finding the structural weak points now," he reported. "There are major fracture lines running through here, here, and here. If we place charges at these exact locations, we can split it into 4 large pieces." Lieutenant Rachel Blake had joined them on the bridge. She was the weapons officer, and her job was to coordinate all of the Horizon's defensive and offensive systems. She studied the tactical display with sharp, professional eyes. 4 pieces will still be too big," Rachel said. "Each fragment could still cause massive destruction. We'll need to break them down even more." "We will," John assured her. "But we have to take this one step at a time. First we split it. Then we cut the pieces smaller. Amy, coordinate with the cargo ships. I want their mining equipment ready to start cutting as soon as we make the initial break." The Varine had dozens of ships in the area. They maintained a careful distance from the asteroid and from the human vessels. John could see them on the long-range sensors, hovering like nervous birds. He imagined the debates happening on those ships. Their prey instincts were screaming at them to flee, but they needed to watch what the predators were going to do. "Launching mining drones," Daniel announced. Small robotic machines flew out from the Horizon. Each one carried special explosives that were designed to break rock in mining operations. But Daniel had modified these charges. He had made them much more powerful. The drones swarmed over the asteroid like a cloud of mechanical insects. They used drills to bore deep holes into the rock. Then they planted their explosive charges deep inside, right at the points Kevin had identified. It was careful, precise work. Each drone had to find the exact right spot. The process took 6 hours. The asteroid kept spinning, which meant Kevin had to constantly update his calculations. New scans revealed new details about the rock's internal structure. Sometimes the drones had to adjust their positions. Sometimes they had to drill deeper than expected. John watched the whole process with growing tension. Time was running out. Every minute that passed brought the asteroid closer to Vereen Prime. Down on that planet, billions of people were probably watching the sky and hoping that the strange predator species could save them. Finally, Daniel looked up from his station. All charges are in position. The drones are clear. We're ready to detonate on your command, Captain. John took a deep breath. This was it. The moment that would determine whether billions lived or died. All ships pull back to a safe distance, he ordered. Then he counted down. 3, 2, 1, detonate. The explosions went off in a carefully timed sequence. Each charge detonated at the exact right moment to enhance the power of the next one. Energy channeled through the internal fracture lines. For a few seconds, nothing visible happened. Then cracks began to appear on the asteroid's surface. The asteroid broke apart like an egg being cracked open. 4 massive fragments spun away from each other, tumbling through space. But John's relief lasted only a moment. The fragments were still huge, and they were still on a collision course with Vereen Prime. Phase 2, John ordered immediately. Rachel, bring us alongside the largest fragment. It's time to start cutting. What happened next was one of the most aggressive mining operations in human history. The Horizon moved close to one of the fragments. The cargo ships approached the other pieces. Then they activated their plasma cutters. Plasma cutters were industrial tools designed to slice through rock and metal. They used superheated gas that was hotter than the surface of a star. The beams of energy carved through the asteroid fragments like knives cutting through soft butter. Rachel coordinated the operation with military precision. She treated each fragment like an enemy target that needed to be neutralized. The plasma cutters made long, straight cuts. The fragments split into smaller pieces. Then those pieces were cut again. And again. It was brutal and direct. It was violent and efficient. It was exactly the kind of solution that required not just the tools but the mindset to use them as weapons. The Vereen could never have done this. Their minds simply didn't work this way. We're getting debris, Kevin warned. Small fragments from the cutting operations. They're flying off in random directions. Point defense systems engage, John ordered. Automated weapons on the horizon came to life. They tracked the smaller pieces of debris and destroyed them with precise bursts of energy. Each tiny fragment that might have been dangerous was eliminated before it could become a threat. The Vereen ships pulled back even farther. John could understand why. To them, this wasn't problem-solving. This was warfare. The humans were attacking an inanimate object with the same aggression and violence they would use against a living enemy. The distinction didn't matter to prey species psychology, but it was working. Hour by hour, the massive threat was reduced. When fragments were still too large, the humans used kinetic impactors. These were missiles designed for demolition work in mining operations. They slammed into the rock at high speed and shattered it from the inside. The work was exhausting. The crew took shifts, but nobody really rested. There was too much at stake. Too many lives depending on them. Too much riding on proving that humans could be trusted with this kind of power. 15 hours after they began, Amy looked up from her console. Her face was covered with sweat. Her eyes were red from staring at screens for too long, but she was smiling. Captain, final trajectory calculations are complete, she announced. All remaining fragments will miss Vereen Prime. The largest pieces will burn up in their atmosphere. Some smaller debris might reach the surface, but nothing big enough to cause serious damage. Maybe some broken windows, maybe some small craters, but no extinction event. John slumped back in his chair. He hadn't realized how tense his muscles had been. Around him, the bridge crew began to cheer. The sound of relief and triumph filled the air. People hugged each other. Some were crying. They had done it. They had actually done it. Send a message to Vereen Command, John said. His voice was hoarse from giving orders for so many hours. Tell them their world is safe. The response came quickly. But it wasn't Careful Consensus who appeared on the screen. It was Gentle Observer, the Vereen that John had first met 3 months ago. The alien's large eyes were wider than usual. Its scales shifted through colors that John had learned indicated strong emotion. You destroyed the threat, Gentle Observer said through the translation device. We watched everything. You attacked the asteroid with purpose and precision. You hunted it like prey, We saw the predator instinct in action. John felt suddenly defensive. We saved your planet. Yes, you did. We are grateful, Gentle Observer replied, but we also fear you more now than before. You showed us what predators can do when hunting. Even when the prey is not a living thing, you hunt with the same instinct. The same efficiency. The same violence. A chill ran down John's spine. They had just saved billions of lives. They had worked for 15 straight hours without rest. They had risked their own lives to help people they barely knew. And the Vereen were more frightened than grateful. He realized then that the gulf between predator and prey species might be wider than anyone had imagined. It wasn't just about diet or evolution. It was about fundamental ways of thinking, ways of approaching problems, ways of seeing the universe. We use those instincts to help you, John said quietly. That's what you need to remember. Yes, we're hunters. We evolved to track and kill, but we choose what we hunt. And today we chose to hunt that asteroid, not you. Never you. Gentle Observer was silent for a long moment. Its color shifted and changed. Finally, it spoke again. This is a new concept for us. We must think carefully about this. But Captain Harris, please understand. We owe you the life of our world. This debt cannot be forgotten. We will remember what you did here. The transmission ended. John stared at the empty screen. Behind him, the celebration had died down. The crew had heard the conversation. They understood what it meant. They're still afraid of us, Amy said softly, even after we saved them. Of course they are, Kevin replied. We just showed them exactly how good we are at destroying things. From their perspective, we're monsters who happen to be on their side. For now, what happens if we change our minds? John stood and walked to the window. Below them, Vereen Prime was a beautiful blue and green world, still spinning peacefully in space. It was alive because of what humans had done, but the beings on that world would probably have nightmares about human efficiency for generations. Then we have more work to do. John said finally. Saving their planet was the easy part. Now comes the hard part. Now we have to show them that predators can be more than just efficient killers. We have to show them what it truly means to be human. The weeks after the asteroid crisis brought an unexpected change. Despite their fear, or perhaps because of it, the Vereen became extremely curious about humanity. Scientists and cultural experts began requesting access to everything human. They wanted to study Earth's history, psychology, art, and entertainment. Dr. Lisa Morgan found herself hosting a continuous stream of alien visitors on Unity Station. Every day brought new questions. The Vereen wanted to understand how humans thought, how they made decisions, why they did the things they did. They've been watching our movies, Lisa told John during one of their regular briefings. Action movies, war films, even horror stories. They're trying to understand how we think about violence and survival. What do they think? John asked. Lisa laughed, but it was a tired sound. They're both fascinated and horrified. The idea of watching violence for entertainment is completely alien to them. But they're starting to see the complexity. Yesterday they watched a documentary about wolves. Then they watched a story about a person who spent years trying to save wolves from extinction. It helped them understand that we're not simple creatures. One Vereen researcher had become a regular presence on the station. She had chosen the human name Claire to make communication easier. She was a specialist in understanding the psychology of different species. Her job was to figure out how human minds worked. John found her one day in the observation lounge. She was watching recorded footage of the asteroid operation. The same sequence played over and over on the screen. It showed Rachel coordinating the plasma cutters as they sliced through the largest fragment. You watch this often? John asked. He sat down in the chair next to her. Claire's translator turned her response into words John could understand. I'm trying to understand the emotions behind the actions. Your officer, Rachel Blake. She was not angry when she cut the rock. She was not afraid. She was calm and focused. This confuses me greatly. Why does that confuse you? John asked. For my people, when we must act against a threat, it always comes from fear or desperation. We react to danger. We do not seek it out. But your Rachel was proactive. She hunted the asteroid like it was prey, but she did it without emotion. Without anger or fear or hate. This is the predator instinct, yes? John thought carefully about how to answer. It's more complicated than that. Yes, humans evolved as hunters. We have instincts for tracking things, for planning attacks, for working together as a group. But we also evolved the ability to control those instincts. We can choose when to use them and how to use them. Can you turn these instincts off completely? Claire asked. Not turn them off, but redirect them. We channel them into other activities. Sports competitions, strategic games, solving difficult problems. The same drive that made our ancestors successful hunters makes us good engineers and scientists. We're hunting for solutions instead of hunting for food. Claire was quiet for a long time. Her large eyes stayed fixed on John with an intensity he had learned meant she was thinking deeply. This is why you explore space. Not just to discover new things, but to hunt for new challenges. Maybe, John admitted, but we also explore because we're curious, because we want to meet other intelligent beings, because we dream about what might exist beyond our world. The predator instinct is only one part of who we are. Show me more, Claire requested. Show me humans being more than predators. Over the next several days, John arranged for Claire to observe different aspects of life on Unity Station. She watched engineers working together on repairs. They laughed and joked as they solved technical problems. She observed medical staff caring for an injured crew member. They were patient and gentle. She attended a concert where humans created music and enjoyed it together. But the moment that seemed to affect Claire most came unexpectedly. A supply ship arrived carrying families who were joining the diplomatic mission. Claire watched as parents reunited with children. She saw partners embrace after months apart. She observed humans displaying vulnerability and love openly. Your young are so vulnerable, she said to Amy, who was standing nearby. They need many years of care before they can survive on their own. This does not fit the predator pattern. Amy smiled as she watched a small child run past, chased by laughing parents. Human children have long childhoods. They learn not just how to hunt, but how to love, how to create, how to question everything. Our children are raised by whole communities. They're taught by many teachers. We're social predators, if you want to use that term. But being social means caring deeply for each other. Like pack animals, Claire suggested. Like family, Amy corrected gently. We don't just survive together. We thrive together. We build each other up. That evening, Claire asked for a private meeting with John. They met in his office. The windows showed the stars stretching out into infinity. I must make my report to the Vereen Council, Claire said. They are waiting for my assessment of the human threat level. John felt his stomach tighten with nervousness. Everything depended on this evaluation. The future of human relations with an entire galactic civilization rested on what one Vereen researcher would say. What will you tell them? He asked. Claire's scales changed color, which John had learned indicated strong emotion. I will tell them the truth. Humans are predators. This cannot be denied or hidden or changed. You have instincts for hunting, for aggression, for dominance. These instincts make you dangerous. Very dangerous, John nodded slowly. He felt a heavy weight settling in his chest. But Claire continued speaking. But I will also tell them that humans are more than predators. You have instincts for cooperation as well, for compassion, for creativity. You can be dangerous, yes, but you can also be loyal friends. You saved our world not because you had to, but because you chose to. This choice, this ability to direct your predator instincts toward helping instead of hunting, this is what makes humans unique in the galaxy. She paused, then added something that surprised John. I will tell them that the Vereen should be cautious with humans. This is wise, but we should also be honored to know you. Because if humans choose to be our friends, we have gained powerful allies. And if we never give you a chance to be friends, we create enemies through our own fear. John found himself smiling. He felt the weight lift from his chest. Thank you, Claire. That's all we can ask for. A fair chance to prove ourselves. You already proved yourselves when you hunted the asteroid, Claire replied. Now you must prove you can hunt for peace. This will be much harder, I think. After Claire left to prepare her report, John sat alone in his office for a long time. He thought about what she had said. She was absolutely right. Destroying an asteroid had been straightforward. It was a clear problem with a clear solution. Building trust across billions of years of evolutionary divide would require a completely different kind of strength. But humans had spent thousands of years learning to channel their predator instincts toward constructive goals. Ancient humans had hunted for food to survive. Modern humans hunted for knowledge, for understanding, for solutions to difficult problems. If they could redirect those powerful instincts once, they could do it again. They could hunt for peace. They could hunt for acceptance. They could hunt for a place in the galactic community where predators and prey worked together as equals. It would not be easy. There would be setbacks and misunderstandings. There would be moments when prey species instincts clashed with predator logic, but John believed it was possible. He had to believe it was possible, because the alternative was unthinkable. The alternative was humanity isolated and alone among the stars, feared by every other intelligent species, trusted by none. John looked out at the stars and made a silent promise. Humanity would prove itself worthy of trust. They would show the galaxy that predators could be more than just hunters. They would demonstrate that the same instincts that made them dangerous also made them capable of remarkable loyalty and friendship. The hunt for acceptance had begun, and humans never gave up on a hunt. 6 months had passed since the asteroid crisis. Unity Station had changed from a small diplomatic outpost into a busy center of cooperation between species. Claire's report had helped ease some of the Varine's fears, but trust was still something that had to be earned every single day. The real test came when another prey species made contact with humanity. They called themselves the Threxians. They had evolved from large herd animals that lived on wide grassland plains. They were even more nervous around humans than the Varine had been. Their first diplomatic message came with an unusual request. They wanted to meet with the galactic community, but they asked that no humans be present at the initial meeting. The request stung, but John understood. Stories about the asteroid destruction had spread throughout the galaxy. Some species saw humans as heroes. Others saw them as monsters who had simply chosen the right target this time. Gentle Observer brought the news to John personally. The Varine diplomat had become something close to a friend over the past months, though their relationship still carried the strange tension of predator and prey learning to live together. They fear you before even meeting you, Gentle Observer explained. Stories of what you did to the asteroid have spread through the galactic community. Some species are impressed. Others are terrified. John felt frustrated. We can't change what we are. Should we apologize for being good at what we do? No, Gentle Observer replied. There was firmness in the alien's voice that John had not heard before. You should not change. You should not apologize, but you must understand that for prey species, effectiveness in violence is terrifying, even when that violence serves a good purpose. The Varine paused, then continued. But I have an idea. The Threxians have a problem. Raiders have been attacking their outer colonies. Small groups with advanced weapons steal resources and then disappear. The Threxians cannot stop them because they do not think like raiders. They try to negotiate and understand motivations. The raiders see this as weakness and attack more frequently. They need hunters, John said immediately. He understood the situation right away. Yes. But they fear asking predators to hunt predators. They worry that humans will not stop hunting once you start. John stood up and paced his office. His mind worked through the problem from every angle. This was a test, not just of human capabilities, but of human restraint. The galactic community needed to see that humans could hunt when necessary and stop when the job was done. Tell them we'll help, John said finally. But on one condition. They send observers with us. Let them watch everything we do. Let them see that we can follow rules, that we can show mercy, that we understand the difference between an enemy and an innocent person. Gentle Observer's scales shifted through colors that John had learned meant approval. This is good strategy. You offer transparency instead of secrecy. Very human approach to solving a problem. The mission took weeks to arrange. Finally, a small human task force led by the Horizon was approved. 2 Threxian observers and Claire would accompany them to document everything. The operation would be completely transparent. Rachel Blake planned the mission with the precision of a master strategist. The raiders operated from a hidden base in an asteroid field. They struck quickly and retreated before any defense could be organized. For a prey species mindset, this was an impossible problem. How do you defend against an enemy that refuses to stay and fight? But for a predator species, the answer was obvious. You hunt them down. We track their patterns, Rachel explained during a briefing with the observers present. Raiders need supplies. They need fuel. They need places to sell what they steal. We identify their supply chain, find their base, and cut off their resources. Then we give them a choice. Surrender peacefully or face arrest by force. One of the Threxian observers, whose name translated as Swift Meadow, seemed disturbed by the plan. You intend to starve them out? This seems cruel. It's efficient and it minimizes casualties, Rachel countered. A direct assault would risk lives on both sides. This way they'll surrender when they realize they cannot win. Claire leaned forward in her seat. You think like a predator, Lieutenant Blake. You cut prey from the herd. You weaken them. Then you move in only when victory is certain. But Swift Meadow raises a valid point. Where is the line between efficient and cruel? Rachel met her gaze steadily. The line is choice. We're giving them every opportunity to surrender peacefully. If they choose to fight, that's their decision. But we won't let them keep hurting innocent people just because stopping them requires predator tactics. The hunt took 3 weeks. Following Rachel's plan perfectly, they tracked the raiders through their supply network. They identified their hidden base. They systematically cut off all escape routes and resources. It was a masterclass in strategic thinking, the kind of campaign that would have been impossible for a species that had not evolved to think like hunters. But what impressed the observers most was not the efficiency of the hunt. It was what happened when the raiders finally realized they were trapped with no way out. The raider leader was from a species called the Kravix. They were small predators themselves, though nowhere near as sophisticated as humans. When they realized they were cornered, they sent a desperate transmission. John could have pressed the attack. The Horizon's weapons could have disabled their ships easily, but instead he opened a communication channel. Kravix vessels, this is Captain John Harris. You have 2 options. Option 1 is to power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded peacefully. You'll face trial for your crimes, but you'll be treated fairly under galactic community law. Option 2 is to try to fight. We will disable your ships and take you by force if necessary. People will get hurt. Probably your people. There was a long silence. Then the raider leader responded. You're the humans everyone fears. The predators. Yes, John replied simply. There was no point in denying it. If we surrender, you promise fair treatment? I promise. And unlike many species in the galaxy, humans keep their promises. We're very good at that too. 5 minutes later, the raider ships powered down their weapons. The boarding process was conducted with professionalism. John made sure the raiders were treated well. They were fed properly. They received medical attention for minor injuries. They were handled with dignity even though they were criminals. Swift Meadow approached John after the operation was complete. The Threxian's body language suggested a mixture of awe and lingering fear. You could have killed them. It would have been easier and faster, but you gave them a choice even at the end of the hunt. This is what makes humans different from other predators we have encountered in our fossil records. What's that? John asked. You have predator instincts, yes, but you also have something else, compassion, mercy. Our language does not have good words for this combination. You hunt efficiently, but you can also choose not to hunt. This is power that prey species do not understand. This is why we fear you, but also why we need you. Claire added her perspective. Human predator instinct is a tool, not a master. You have shown us this over these months. Now the galaxy must learn the same lesson. Predators can be more than what instinct demands. They can be protectors. John looked out at the stars. He thought about the long road still ahead. The galactic community was built by prey species. It was organized around principles of evasion and survival. Humans brought something new to that equation, the ability to confront threats directly, to hunt problems until they were solved. It would take time for the galaxy to adjust to having predators as allies. There would be setbacks and misunderstandings. There would be moments when fear overcame reason. But if humans could prove themselves repeatedly, if they could demonstrate that their predator instincts were controlled by choice and tempered by compassion, then perhaps they could find their rightful place among the stars. So what happens now? Amy asked. She joined him at the viewing window. Now we continue the hunt, John replied. But we're hunting for something different. We're hunting for acceptance, for understanding, for a place in this galaxy as both predators and friends. That's a harder hunt than chasing asteroids or raiders, Amy observed. John smiled. Yes, but humans are excellent hunters. And this might be the most important hunt in our entire history, because we're not just hunting for ourselves. We're hunting for a future where predators and prey can work together, where the strengths of both can make the galaxy better and stronger. Behind them, the crew went about their daily duties, maintaining systems, processing reports, preparing for whatever came next. They were hunters, every one of them, shaped by millions of years of evolution to track, to pursue, to overcome obstacles. But they were also more than that. They were explorers and diplomats, scientists and artists, engineers and dreamers. They carried the predator instinct within them, yes, But they also carried something more important. The power to choose what to do with that instinct, and in the end that choice would define humanity's legacy among the stars, not as predators who came to hunt, but as predators who chose to protect, not as hunters who took without thought, but as guardians who hunted only to keep others safe. The galaxy would learn, slowly but surely, that humans possessed powerful predator instincts, ancient drives that made them efficient and dangerous when necessary. But the galaxy would also learn something more important. Those instincts, properly directed and controlled, were not something to fear. They were something to be grateful for. Because when danger threatened, when problems seemed impossible, when hope appeared lost, humanity would be there, ready to hunt down solutions, ready to protect those who could not protect themselves. That was what it truly meant to be human. To carry the power of the predator, tempered by the wisdom of choice, to be both dangerous and kind, both efficient and compassionate, both hunter and friend. And as Unity Station orbited peacefully in space, as humans and aliens worked together toward understanding, John knew that this was only the beginning. The hunt for acceptance would continue. The work of building trust would never truly end, but that was fine, because humans never gave up on a hunt, especially not when the prize was a future among the stars.